Hello, I'm Graham Donovan from St. Paul United Methodist Church on Bardstown Road in the Highlands, one of your hosts for tonight. Welcome to this second presentation of Real Good News. While we're taking a few minutes to sign in the remaining people who've registered for the program, we'll listen to singer-songwriter John Gage. Let's listen to John, and I'll be back after that to introduce tonight's program.
I live on a big blue bar. I never do dream I might fall. Even the day that I do, I'll jump off and smile back at you. I don't even know where we are. They tell us we're circling a star. Celestial creatures of light. We're children of love, shining bright. We walk where evening shadows wash the shore, with radiant sunsets pure as gold. Divine love shines in starlight evermore. Creation's power and beauty unfold. We're learning as children to let go, surrender to the sacred river's flow, looking within for what we know. Spirit will guide us as we grow. We're riding a big blue ball. We never do dream we might fall. Universal love surrounds us all, sustaining all creatures, great and small. Oh, la la la, la 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 la, la la la. We live on a big blue ball, and universal love surrounds us all.
Hello again. Welcome to the second presentation of Real Good News. We're very pleased to have you with us tonight. We're here to learn more about what Louisville is doing to respond to the climate crisis. This follows the very successful program of last November 14th, when several members of the group 100% Renewable Energy Alliance of Louisville spoke about the resolution adopted by the Metro Council in February of 2020, just a year ago. That resolution calls for 100% clean, renewable energy, renewable electricity in all Metro government operations by 2030. And it calls for 100% clean, renewable energy for all Metro government operations by 2035. And finally, 100% clean, renewable energy for the entire Metro community by 2040. These are big challenges needing bold and urgent action. And Louisville has joined many other cities across the nation in pledging to meet these goals, to do their part to reduce carbon emissions and to address the urgent climate crisis we're facing across the globe. So what has happened in the 3 months since we last spoke to you? And what are some more details of the Metro Plan that will revolutionize the way we power our city? Tonight, we'll hear from Margaret Stewart, Sam Avery, and Roger Allman of the group 100% Real about this. We're also very pleased to welcome Metro Councilwoman Nicole George, who will tell us about the plan from the council's point of view. We'll also hear from Dawn Cooley, who heads up Kentucky Interfaith Power and Light, one of the volunteer groups in the Alliance working hard to build green energy solutions. Dawn is kindly handling the technical side of this Zoom meeting as well and signing in all of us. We want to give you plenty of chances to ask questions, both as we go along and in a special question and answer session after all the speakers have presented. You'll see a little chat icon at the bottom of your screens in the middle. Please click on it at any time and type any questions you have in there. Dawn will be monitoring those questions, sometimes answering them in the chat herself, sometimes bringing them to our attention so you can ask the speakers directly. So please don't hesitate to type in your questions. Please keep yourself muted unless we give you the go-ahead to ask your question directly. So on to our first speaker. Margaret Stewart grew up in Birmingham and has lived most of her adult life here in Louisville, working for many years on environmental and peace issues in both Frankfurt and Washington, D.C. She produced the colorful flyer we've been using for the series. I hope you've seen it. And she also writes and reads poetry. She's currently active with 100% Real. Over to you, Margaret.
Thank you, Graham, and welcome everyone. As part of our ongoing effort to connect with and inform the Metro Council, one of our efforts is to have a speaker address, one or possibly two speakers, give 3-minute addresses each time the council meets. We want the council members to keep this resolution and most especially the implementation of its goals as a high priority. And we want to inspire them about things that can be done and need to be done. So starting this year, Sam Avery on January 28th addressed the council, reminding them that renewable energy is the only future available to humanity. He emphasized the importance of local action to address global problem of the climate crisis. And he reminded the council members that we need LG&E to abandon fossil fuels. And if they don't do that, then we need to find another supplier. In February, Roger, at the first meeting of the council that month, emphasized the energy savings and longevity of streetlights, the energy savings and the cost savings when we convert to LED lights. And he reminded the council that other recommendations contained in our Louisville
Margaret seems to have frozen. Hopefully she'll be back in just a minute. Margaret? right. Well, Margaret seems to not be returning to us today. We always have technical problems. This is the disadvantage to Zoom right here. So what I think we should probably do is move on to, yep, Margaret's gone. So her connection must have dropped. We will come back to Margaret. And since I'm the next speaker, I am just going to go ahead and jump in if that's okay with you, Graham.
Yes, please go ahead, Dawn.
Excellent. Hi, everyone. Margaret would have told you that I'm the Reverend Dawn Cooley. I'm a Unitarian Universalist minister, and I am the executive director of Kentucky Interfaith Power and Light. I took over for Tim Darst about 16 months ago. I'm sure a lot of you know Tim. Kentucky Interfaith Power and Light has been around since 2007, helping faith communities and people of faith to live their values of creation care by reducing their carbon footprint. Our mission is to mobilize a religious response to climate change and the social injustices that it creates. And we do this with three components: education, advocacy, and action. We have a range of programs we offer faith communities, from coming in and leading a workshop to having a speaker come in, from providing multiple levels of energy audits on your building to helping you get a starter solar array installed at reduced cost. There's a lot of information on our website, which I encourage you to check out, and I'll put in the chat in just a minute. It's kentuckyipl.org. But if you want to know how to reduce your energy bill, you can find information about that in a lot of different places. I think what really makes Kentucky IPL special is the network of faith communities that we bring together. We believe that we are smarter together. We can do more together. We can have a greater impact together. Our network of faith communities shares information with each other. For example, if one faith community is thinking about putting in a rain garden, there are other faith communities that have done it and can offer advice or suggestions. Our network of faith communities also advocates together. For example, many Kentucky IPL partners are writing to the Public Service Commission about the current LG&E and Kentucky and KU rate case. I know many of you have as well. But our partners are writing specifically as people of faith, because we know there is power in claiming our religious grounding here in Kentucky. Lastly, Kentucky IPL does programs like this one, or like the film series that we just completed, Facing Winter, exploring the human impact on creation. Or the next film series that will be starting in April called Engaging Spring, We Got This. This series will screen short films about communities who have taken on the extraction industry and won. We also hope to be offering eco-grief groups later this year, where folks can process their grief around the status of the world that we are passing on to our children. Kentucky IPL resides at the intersection of spirituality and sustainability, or as we sometimes like to say, at the intersection of ecology and theology. Many of us are called to care for this planet, not just by science, but also by our religious faiths. I invite you to check us out at kentuckyipl.org or email me at director@kentuckyipl.org, and I will put both these in the chat. And I see that Margaret has returned. And so let's see if she's ready to go. Margaret, just give me a second and I will unmute you so that you can continue your conversation. All right, Margaret, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
Yes, it worked. Well, I didn't have much more to say, but a few words. Gary Watros addressed the Metro Council also in February on the 25th. And he stated to the council members that solar is now the cheapest energy available. And he asked the council members to consider doing a public demonstration solar project, perhaps on the main public library. We've done some investigation into that, and it looks like a strong possibility. Tim Darst spoke this past Thursday to the council, and Jean Christensen is scheduled to speak coming up on the 25th of this month. And I was going to turn it over to you, Dawn. You've done your part, I think. So I'll get back to you anyway.
That's all right. And I will just introduce our next speaker, who is Sam Avery. Sam is an environmental activist and a member of the Renewable Energy Alliance of Louisville and author of The Carbon Boycott. Take it away, Sam.
Thank you, Dawn. This next section, we're calling Under the Hood. And the reason for that is that we throw a lot of terms around in the renewable energy business, and not everybody knows what they mean. So I'm going to talk here the next few minutes about something called a kilowatt hour. Now, we've all heard of kilowatt hours, but does anybody know what they mean? And also, what's the difference between a kilowatt hour and a plain old kilowatt? We tend to get them mixed up too. Kilowatt is a measure of power. A kilowatt hour is a measure of energy. So power times time equals energy. Kilo simply means 1,000. Like 1,000 watts is the same thing as a kilowatt, or 1,000 grams is the same thing as a kilogram. 1,000 meters is the same thing as a kilometer. So a watt is the same thing as the horsepower, or it's at least it's not the same thing, but it measures the same thing. Like a 600 horsepower Mack truck is also a 447 kilowatt truck. Now, truckers don't like to talk about their rigs in terms of kilowatts. It sounds too much like a light bulb. They like something that makes a little more noise. So they tend to prefer the term horsepower, but it's like feet and inches. It's the same basic thing. Now, where a watt or a kilowatt measures the power of the engine, the kilowatt hour or the energy is a function of the fuel that you put in the engine. If you have enough fuel to produce 1 kilowatt hour, you could run that engine, a kilowatt engine, for an hour. The energy is a kilowatt hour. If you have twice as much fuel, you'll run it for 2 hours. Okay, so that's the difference between those two. Energy is a kilowatt hour of energy is produced by about a fistful of coal or by a half a cup of gasoline. That's how much energy is in those two things. Also, a solar panel left in the sunshine for a day produces about a kilowatt hour of energy. Now, you can already see why fossil fuels are really great. You know, they're more compact and they're mobile. You can pick up that pound of coal and take it with you, or you can take the gasoline with you in a tank, whereas a solar panel has to sit motionless in the sunshine all day long to produce that kilowatt hour. But of course, the advantage is that the same panel can produce another kilowatt hour tomorrow and the next day and the day after that for free without using any fuel and without burning anything. So what's the arithmetic behind what I just said, a solar panel? A good solar panel these days produces about 400 watts of energy. And your average day around this part of the world is equivalent to about 2.5 hours of good sunshine. You know, if you take into consideration the early morning, the late evening, cloudy days, and so forth and so on, you're only going to get about 2.5 hours of really good direct sunshine every day. So if you take 400 watts and multiply it by 2.5 hours, how many watts you're going to get? 1,000. That's 1 kilowatt hour on average. Now, the average household uses about 30 kilowatt hours a day. So how many solar panels are you going to need on the average house? 30, okay? And most houses have that much roof space. It's not all going to be properly oriented, but that's about the kind of roof space you're going to have anyway. The next thing, of course, is on top of your household needs, what if you want to drive an electric car? And the rule of thumb here is that 1 solar panel will get you about 1,000 miles of driving every year So if you drive 10,000 miles a year, get another 10 solar panels put on your house. So that's a total of 40 solar panels for the average household. If you're careful with your use of electricity, you're not going to need that many. If you're not careful with your use of electricity, if you waste it, you're going to need 100 panels on your house. It's all a matter of how many kilowatt hours you leave those light bulbs on. Okay, our next speaker is Nicole George. She is a council member from the 21st District. She's also chairwoman of the Public Works Committee. And most importantly for us, Nicole was one of our co-sponsors of the resolution for 100% renewable energy. So she was instrumental in getting it through committee and getting it passed in the full council. Thank you very much for that, Nicole. And take it away, please.
Thank you, Sam. It is an honor to be here with you tonight and to see so many friendly faces. On this day of remembrance of Breonna Taylor, I think it's fitting that we're talking about a subject that is so heavily laden with equity implications. I'm with you tonight to share an update on Metro Council efforts to move us toward our goal of 100% renewable energy. I can't believe it's been a year, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention former Councilman Cohn's role in really doing the heavy lifting to get the resolution passed. But as you mentioned, I was honored to be a co-sponsor, and I'm really proud of that work. I can assure you that any update I give you tonight will not be anything new to a group like this that's so well researched and studied. But I want to encourage you to use me as a barometer for how your work is permeating out into the community. That's to be said that if a local elected official like me with limited knowledge of science, by the way, thank you, Sam, for that education on the kilowatt hour. But if a local elected like me with limited knowledge of science can get it, I think that's a sign that there's hope yet within our community. And so with that, I'm going to share an update of Metro Council efforts, but I'm going to leave you with a bit of perspective on your advocacy efforts and just how important those are as we think about the upcoming budget planning. So when we think about Metro Council efforts, and I don't speak for all of my colleagues, so I'm largely focused on the work that I'm doing and what I'm aware of. I would first say that a lot of the work has been funneled toward having a better understanding of what our energy manager is doing. I know I had an opportunity to speak with Zachary Tyler last week. I know he's also referred to as the energy czar. So a lot of no pressure for Zachary. I know he feels a lot of expectations. If you haven't heard him speak, I would certainly encourage you to invite him to a meeting. I know he is going to speak before Parks and Sustainability on April the 15th at 3 o'clock. So it's going to be a really important conversation. Zachary comes to us with a wealth of experience, and I know that he's going to serve Metro well. My understanding is his first priority is on the conservation side, where essentially lowering consumption will help us decrease the amount of renewable energy we will need. I know he's busy reconciling accounts, digging into data, touring facilities, and completing audits. So a lot of work being done on the conservation side, and as I understand it, that's his first priority. The second priority that he has is to better understand the supply side, and that is to say to do the research needed around the mechanisms to get us to renewable energy. I know he has recurring meetings with LG&E, and based on my conversations with him, I'm confident that we have someone who's able to ask the right questions and challenge assertions when needed. As it relates to the supply side, I know what you guys know in the way of what options exist. I know that he will be researching power purchasing agreements and also looking at partnerships that would potentially help us get us to the threshold needed to be able to have a PPA. I know he's also looking at municipal managed utility options. All that to say, our energy manager is very busy. One of the things that has quickly come to my attention is the fact that he can't do this work alone, that the biggest challenge for him is to not overwhelm him and to be realistic about what he's able to achieve without additional support. We want to see him be able to focus his efforts and not chase every ball, so to speak. And I'm as guilty as anyone. I sent him an email last week asking about a streetlight audit. And so, you know, I would just say we need to be conscious as we're thinking about the upcoming budget of what he's able to accomplish and what supports he's going to need. So energy manager has been my first focus. Another focus has really been around amending the EPAD ordinance. I'm certain you guys followed that through Public Works. It sounds like this amendment, which will allow for third-party administration, will really get us to a place where we're better able to promote and advance the opportunities that are available through EPAD, which effectively allow, you know, whether it's rural, industrial, commercial, or multifamily up to 5 units or starting at 5 units and more, to allow them the opportunities to be able to secure loans for renewable energy options. And so with third-party administration, Energize Kentucky will be that administrator, and it does seem like there's lots of potential to, again, expand that program. It was disheartening for me to hear that since 2016, we've only had 4 projects. I wasn't aware of that. So lots of potential, but we're certainly not maximizing those efforts. And the third and last thing I would leave you with that's on my radar as a council member is that of the LG&E rate case. And I think Margaret did a good job when she mentioned having had someone, you know, present at the council meeting and how important that is to really be able to look at energy savings through streetlights. I know that is certainly something that's on a lot of the minds of my colleagues. I think following the LG&E rate case is helpful because I do see the potential. I think if anybody hasn't heard or read the testimony of Richard Bunch, it was certainly compelling. And so with that, you heard me say, I asked our energy manager, like, is there an opportunity to do a streetlight audit? Because that's something that certainly is needed if we're to make the case for conversion. Lastly, I want to leave you guys with just the value of your work around advocacy. It matters. It certainly matters when we talk about how the resolution came to be passed in the first place. I would encourage you as we move through the budget process to really be thinking about those things that are needed to support the work of the energy manager. So whether we're talking about dedicated controls, having a control technician, what are some really practical supports that they're going to need to advance the work, and be thinking about and advocating for that. The second thing I would say is that you guys do an excellent job being present at the council meetings. I would encourage continued work on that. It really does help keep things at the forefront. I had a conversation with someone from advanced planning about the piece of having a demonstration project. My understanding is we have small demonstration projects, but not big ones. And so that's certainly something we need to explore more. And so please continue those efforts. Also have individual conversations with your council members. Again, particularly as we think about with the budget. As you guys will remember, the resolution, when it passed, it was passed on the basis that, you know, it's like as the metro budget allows, as I believe how it's worded in the resolution. So ensuring that we have special budget allocations to advance renewable energy is going to be really important. So I would encourage you to, yes, continue to speak at the council meetings to garner broad support, but also foster those individual relationships with council members. And then the last thing I would encourage is just, again, a continuation of what you're already doing. You guys do a really excellent job of reporting out and drilling it down in simple ways for people who have a limited bandwidth, such as myself, to be able to understand. And so I think about the takeaways that you guys build into your reporting that's really important, and they've resonated. So again, components like the street lighting, the conversions to LED, that was in that report, and it's something that resonated with me. So I would just leave you with continuing to take complex complex topics and drill it down into simple, actionable takeaways, because that's really important for folks like me. So with that, that's all I have to say. I'm certainly willing to entertain questions or just hear comments. I'm really here to learn from you guys. I meant what I said when I said, consider me the barometer. I'm not going to share anything with you you don't already know, except maybe, hopefully, just give you a little faith that your message is being heard. So with that, I'll take questions and comments.
I was going to say, we do have 2 questions in the chat for you. The first is, could you give a budget timeline coming up?
So it's interesting that you say that, because this year we've really started sooner, and a lot of folks will know that. So traditionally what happens is the mayor will present the budget in April, and then we have a round of budget hearings that take place up until when the budget is passed in June. Usually it's like the 2nd or 3rd week in June. And so one of the things, and again, I'm preaching to the choir because I trust you guys understand the budget process, but I think it's really important for folks to understand the need to kind of get out in front of some of this. Oftentimes I hear from folks who are disappointed because of the last budget, the last meeting where the budget's passed, something they wanted wasn't in it. And what I would say is, understand by the time it makes it for the last vote, those compromises and those pieces have already been kind of hashed out amongst my colleagues. So please encourage people, though, to be paying attention sooner rather than later. This year, I know Councilman Hollander is committed to having folks present in advance of the budget hearing. So like at last budget committee, we had a series of speakers speak about reimagining public safety. And I believe the next budget committee meeting will be focused on quality of life improvements, things for us to be thinking about in the budget. So maybe to leave you with an action, I would say, think about where you fit into that, and maybe think about asking Councilman Hollander if there's an opportunity to speak before budget, even if it's only for 10, 15 minutes, because what he's been doing is kind of having a panel almost of folks come to speak. But even getting 10 to 15 minutes of concentrated time would be really helpful. And so to answer the question, budget process in my mind is year round. Maybe minus July. We get a bit of a reprieve in July.
Thank you. And then the other question is that Councilperson Armstrong, Cassie Chambers Armstrong, has expressed an interest in a resolution calling for a good settlement on the LG&E rate case. Would you be interested in working on that as well?
Yes, of course. And I wasn't aware of that. So I would just say I look forward to seeing whatever she's working on.
Thank you, Nicole. You have been very frank and your answers have been full of candor with us. And we were very pleased with your presentation. It's very encouraging, actually, to hear the actions that have already been taken. We were very impressed with the new energy manager when we had him to speak at the real meeting earlier this week. And we're looking forward to a very fruitful dialogue with him and with you and the other council people who have been so good about this resolution. Before I just pass on, I would like to ask you another question, if I might, taking my prerogative. I noticed that in your district, in the 21st district, you have the Muhammad Ali International Airport, which struck me as being pretty huge user of power. And I wondered if you might consider or think about a dialogue with them as one of your constituents in your district.
Yes, I think that's a great idea. To be honest, that's not something I've considered. So I think that's the value of what you're doing right here with these presentations. And so, yes, I would say, we have several. So whether it's the airport, whether it's UPS, definitely would be interested and willing to have that conversation. What I would ask of you is to consider, in advance of a meeting, what is it that we want to communicate and what is it that we want to ask? There's probably a lot of opportunities to learn as well. I know there's tremendous amount of renovations taking place at the airport. And so, what is it we can learn? What do we want to communicate? And what do we want to ask? If you want to provide support to me in doing that, I'd be happy to make the request.
Thank you. I wasn't actually thinking of support, but we'd be very happy to provide support. Yes. Dawn, are there any other questions for Nicole before we turn over?
Nope, that is all the questions that are in our chat.
All right, thank you. We might have, some people might think of something a little later. So I'm going to go on now to welcome back Sam Avery again, who's going to speak to us about some global issues dealing with the climate crisis. Over to you, Sam.
Thank you, Graham. I thought you were going to talk about me more. I kept my mute on for a little longer, but thanks a lot. And this section we call Thinking Globally. And the next section, Roger's going to talk about acting locally. He's going to talk about the streetlight issue. But there's a big connection between thinking globally and acting locally. And I hope to show you just what we think that is. Now, I'll start by saying that I know for truth that the Earth's atmosphere has 49% more carbon dioxide now than it did before fossil fuel. I know for a fact that the Arctic ice cap is half gone. But this isn't just something I heard about on a Twitter feed. This isn't just somebody's opinion. This is science. I know this through science. But what's special about science? There are almost 8 billion people on the planet right now. There are Protestants and Shiites and Chinese and Eskimos and progressives and conservatives, all kinds of people, and everybody thinks they know what's true. So what's different about science? Science is a special structure of collective consciousness. Now, what I mean by that is that any observation which claims to be science has to be open to all observers. Everybody has to be able to see the same thing. That's why we have what's called peer review. Whereas if a scientist makes a statement, he has to make it in such a way that any other scientist or anybody else can also see the same thing under the same conditions. And what that does is it systematically weeds out opinions, prejudice, ideology, and just plain old errors. So what science has become is the way people see things collectively. We know what we're looking at is true because it's been tested over and over and over again. And scientists make a big deal of trying to prove other scientists wrong. So when you see something that comes out of a scientific report, you're going to know that a lot of people have tried to prove that it's untrue. And so what's left over, the debris that's left over after the scientific process, that's what you can determine to be true. So what we see collectively is science. What we do collectively is politics. Science doesn't tell us what to do. It shows us what's going on in the world, but then we're left to figure out what to do on our own. And the only way we can act collectively is through politics. Now, political truth is not quite the same thing as scientific truth. And some people would say that politics doesn't deal with truth at all, only with power. Sorry, Nicole, I didn't mean to say anything bad about politics, but I believe that there is something called political truth, but it's something that comes out over a period of time. Everything that's true politically and in human relations in general has to withstand the test of time. Now, politicians come and go, ideologies come and go, political parties come and go, but what remains after the years, after the decades, after the centuries, truth gradually works its way to the surface in the political realm. An example of that is human equality. You know, human equality is something that really was not even an idea not so long ago. But over the decades and the centuries, that essential truth is coming to the surface. It's been tested over and over again, and we're beginning to see that as a universal truth. Now, I believe that in time, scientific truth becomes political truth. I believe that after a period of years, there will be political consensus that yes, in fact, the Earth's atmosphere is deteriorating. After a while, we'll all agree that the polar ice cap is disappearing and we have to do something about it. That's going to happen in time, no matter what we do, even without advocacy. But the reason we have advocacy is that we need to bring that truth to the surface sooner than would come naturally. And the fact that when we're actually advocating to bring something out in the open, to reveal a truth, that truth, we can't be sure of what that truth is until some point in the future. So we can't always claim to own the truth. We can't claim that we know what the truth is and our opponents don't know what it is. We can't do that. Let me read the next part. When we speak, when we advocate, when we demonstrate, we allow truth to rise, but we never know exactly what it is. We cannot claim to own it. If you believe in human equality, if you believe that the earth is damaged, if you believe that trees and rocks and rivers are alive, that birds and deer and deserts are part of a larger living whole, if you believe that life is the reason to live, your opinion leads you to speak, to advocate, and to demonstrate, but you cannot know how truth will manifest. You rarely know and rarely see the full truth of your labor. When you speak, when you advocate and demonstrate, you bring truth, whatever it may be, up from the depths of human subconsciousness. You show your belief on the surface of the world, unwrap its words in the open air, and see its leaves unfurl in the blinding sun of everyday life. You may never see if it lives. The truth, if it is true, will take root in the soil of your manifest actions. The fruit of your actions will be the product through time of air, water, and light. We need to agitate truth to the surface because there's not enough time for it to rise on its own. So we of the Renewable Energy Alliance of Louisville, or REAL, our struggle in the city of Louisville is to bring scientific truth into political truth. We're taking note of something we see happening in the world and we're pointing to it. And I've always felt that was the real purpose of political activity. Years ago, when I was very active against the war in Iraq, when I was, even before that, against the war in Vietnam, whenever I've demonstrated against fossil fuel, I never felt like I was working on the level of an opinion. In other words, I never thought that I was actually getting somebody to change what they said they believed in. But what we were doing, standing on the street corner, holding a sign, is we were making people look at that war, making people look at what that fossil fuel is doing. Let them see it for their own. Let's go deeper down than just dealing on the level of opinion and prejudice. So as we demonstrate in the streets and in the forest, we see in each other's faces a truth coming into being. We breathe the atmosphere of the entire world in the streets and the parks and the neighborhoods of Louisville. Thinking globally puts Louisville in a much bigger picture. It gives meaning to what we're doing here locally. So acting locally is the other part of this. Acting locally is where that larger vision touches down in the real world. Because this is a global issue, climate is a global issue, and because we breathe the same air all over the world, our most important work can be right here in Louisville. We can't go up to the Arctic and save the polar bears. It's not going to do any good. We can't go down to the tropics to save the rainforest. It's not going to do any good. What we need to do is to be working with people we are connected with. People we know, people we love, people who are friends, family, neighbors. That's where we can be most effective. And now I'll introduce my friend Roger Ullman. Roger, you can unmute yourself now. Roger's someone I'm connected with. He's an environmental activist. He's a volunteer at the Nature Center, and he's a member of the Renewable Energy Alliance of Louisville, REAL. Roger has been very active in monitoring and lobbying for conversion of streetlights to LEDs, which are much more efficient. Roger, tell them about it.
Thanks, Sam. Hello, everybody, and welcome. I've enjoyed listening to the speakers and the things that have been said so far. It's still good, even though we're all immersed in it. It's still good to hear words of inspiration. Though I didn't mention when Sam asked, I will add that I am a climate crisis activist and a member of First Unitarian Church. I took the label of a climate crisis activist while preparing for this talk. I wanted to emphasize we are in a climate crisis now. What we do or what we don't do in the next 10 to 20 years will only determine the degree to which this crisis unfolds. Unitarian Universalists have 7 principles that informs our faith. The 7th principle is respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. Unitarian Universalist minister Reverend Gilmore said, our 7th principle may be our Unitarian Universalist way of coming to fully embrace something greater than ourselves. The interdependent web is a source of meaning to which we can dedicate our lives. I believe today, more than ever, this is true. Through our amazing science and technology that Sam just talked about, we are discovering how quickly we can alter Earth's life-sustaining systems. But understanding many of our scientific breakthroughs has too often lagged behind their disastrous consequences. Martin Luther King said it best. Yet, in spite of these spectacular strides in science and technology, and still unlimited ones to come, something basic is missing. There is a sort of poverty of the spirit which stands in glaring contrast to our scientific and technological abundance. If we are to survive today, our moral and spiritual lag must be eliminated. Enlarged material powers spell enlarged peril if there is not a proportionate growth of the soul. On acting now. So last year, the Louisville Metro Council, as it's been said, voted to join 160 other cities in the U.S. by passing the resolution with 3 goals that will collectively realize 100% clean, renewable energy community-wide by 2040. The first of the 3 goals in the resolution is 100% clean, renewable electricity for Louisville Metro Council by 2030. 10 years. So what does that look like? In 2019, Metro government used a total of 101 million kilowatt hours of electricity. And now that Sam's explained that, we all know exactly what that means, right? So this is equivalent to the average yearly kilowatt hours used in 9,300 Jefferson County homes. According to LG&E, the average home in Jefferson County uses 900 kilowatt hours of electricity a month. So we can go back, we can look at our bills, we take the information that Sam just gave you, the information I just gave you, and we understand where we're at, right? But you might be wondering, how do we generate 101 million kilowatt hours of clean renewable electricity by 2030? Well, we don't. Metro will reduce the amount of electricity it's using, make it easier and cheaper to obtain this goal once the renewables are feasible. One of the ways to reduce is switching streetlights to LED, discussed in this booklet that I've got here, Louisville's Energy Future. Like many suggestions in the booklet, LEDs will not only reduce electricity usage, but in the long run, they will also reduce our electricity costs. Switching to LED streetlights will reduce the electricity Metro uses by 20%. So 20% of that 101 million kilowatt hours will be reduced if we switch LED streetlights to, or switch streetlights to LEDs. It will also save the city roughly $1.5 to $2 million a year. Metro government has adopted a process for LG&E to follow to replace some of the most abundantly used streetlight types. The streetlight type with the highest usage, both in quantity and total kilowatt hours used, is located mostly in our city neighborhoods. When switched to the recommended LED, the LED we recommended in the future, Louisville's Energy Future, it will decrease kilowatt hours 75% per light. Using costs from LG&E's rate schedule, it will save the city $7.30 per light per month. The LEDs are already being installed in some of your neighborhoods. Other advantages of LEDs are they last longer, they're brighter, and they have a higher color rendering index, which means whatever the LED shines on, it will more closely show its true color than the street lights we currently use. And yeah, and I want to say here, well, as I'm in the middle of this, so it's very complicated. The whole, there's like probably 15 different LED lights that we can deal with. There are 4 main ones that I'm talking about when I talk about the neighborhoods. When I talk about our corridors, there's another group of lights for our main corridors. Busy intersection, we have, there are also used with those. When we get closer to the expressways on our corridors, there's another light still. And then when our alleys, there's also a light. So there's roughly 4 lights that the neighborhoods and so forth use. But there's others as well that's used out in the more rural areas. So so the 20% reduction does not include the savings possible in the 80 home rural cities where 1/5 of the population of Jefferson County live. So that 20%, yeah, 20%, it doesn't include that. If you live in one of these cities, your city receives an electric bill that lists the lights you use, how many of each, and their cost. The cost will depend on the light types your city uses, and LG&E charges a conversion fee to switch to LEDs. Using the bill and LG&E rate schedule, you can determine the energy savings and costs. And like I say, I've got some information on that. If anybody wants to talk to me about this, I would be glad to help them understand your city or or understand the process that actually the Public Works is going through right now working with LG&E to replace those street lights. And before I move on, I also want to say that Mary Rose, who I see is on here, she set up a meeting with the JCLC. She's a member of the JCLC, which is the Jefferson County League of Cities, and invited LG&E to come and talk about street lights. And so there's some action going on in that regards. So that's also encouraging. Anyway, I live in Parkway Village, a home rule city just off Preston, and our board president signed a contract today for LG&E to switch all of our street lights to LEDs. Adding the cost of the conversion fee, Parkway Village will break even after 8 years and see a reduction of $1,600 each year thereafter. You know, we're pretty small. I think we're less than 1,000 or right at 1,000 people. So we're pretty small, and so that's a big deal for us. In the current rate case LG&E has filed, they propose to reduce the conversion fee by 29 cents. Metro has filed to reduce the conversion fee by 40%. Another home rule city to the south of Parkway Village, Linview, has already converted their streetlights to LED. Streetlights are not the only recommendations in the Louisville Energy Future booklet that will save energy and cost. In addition to solar panels mentioned by Sam, there are several other energy conservation recommendations as well. And I was glad to hear, and Nicole mentioned, I was glad to hear that Zachary, the new energy manager, is going to be focused on energy conservation, because there's a lot that can be done, I believe, in that regards. If you haven't already, I encourage you to become familiar with and support the efforts that's listed in the Louisville Energy Future when the time comes for their implementation. Lastly, in his book, Earth in Human Hands, the astrobiologist David Grinspoon wrote, "We are the species that can change the world and come to see what we're doing. The possibility that might integrate that awareness into how we interface with the Earth system is one that should give us hope." Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Roger. And we do have a number of questions for you that I'll read. The first one is that Paul says that his understanding is that LEDs have a potential to be internet connected. Is there smart technology or algorithms that could be used to coordinate usage and further reduce energy use?
Yes, and well, with this particular light, as it turns out, there is that capability, but I don't think that's something that the Public Works has done. Or LG&E probably has not done that. Yeah. So as you can imagine, it's more expensive. And so we would be looking at some very different prices. So what the technology, what that allows them to do, and by the way, these lights are made, the ones where the LEDs are making now that the LG&E has bought are at least the ones that are in the neighborhood are, they are made by Energy Current, which is a collaboration, or GE Current, I'm sorry, which is a collaboration between GE and a company called Current. But yes, they have that technology, but and what part of one of the things it does, it allows, for example, like at 2 o'clock in the morning when there's hardly anybody around, they can dim the street lights when there's less usage. So anyway, I don't think that's something that LG&E has got on there. I have not heard it mentioned.
Is there a timeline or estimate for Louisville Metro to be converted to all LEDs?
None that I'm aware of. Yeah.
And then a couple of folks are really curious about how LED lights rate regarding light pollution.
Two things. What I'm finding is they're a little bit brighter, having than they talk about lumens. Okay, so then they talk in terms of lumens when they're measuring, and so, but the LEDs are a little bit fewer lumens, but they're actually brighter. I've got a picture that I guess I could have shown, but anyway, you can see where the LED lights are brighter, but the reason for that is all of the light, it goes to the spot that they need to go to. Whereas the high pressure sodium and all the other lights before incandescents, they go up into the fixture. Part of it goes up into the fixture, hits a reflector, comes back down, or if there's not a reflector, it doesn't do that. So yeah, so anyway, so we get everything out of that light. The other good thing about it in addressing light pollution, and you can see this as you drive down the expressway or maybe even walk in your neighborhood, when you're looking at a light, you will barely see, even though you're under the light, and let's say you're 200 yards away, you will barely see any light coming out of that. The light's coming out, it's just that it's kept at a lower, the way that the fixture is designed, it's kept at a lower level rather than reflecting up and out as the high pressure sodiums and metal halide and mercury vapor lights that are still out there do now.
And then what happens to all the old bulbs that we replace? Are we just left with a huge pile of old toxic light bulbs, or is there potential for recycling?
I don't know that much about that. I think that LG&E says that they will charge, I mean, they will, that's what they're charging for, is the fact. So the conversion fee, that's what that's for, because they say there's life left in some of those bulbs. And so if you request LG&E to come out and change them, change all of yours while they still got a good bulb and a good fixture, then that's what the charge is for. And I should mention this. So if the light is still good or still is not good, they will of course come out, and the fixture is not good, they will come out and change it for free. If the light's not good itself, they will try to replace the lamp with a high pressure sodium if they still have those.
And then there are two questions that I think are for not just necessarily you, Roger, but any of our Renewable Energy Alliance Louisville folks, or possibly Councilwoman George. One is, if LG&E is so interested in this new technology in our environment, why would they want to install a new fossil fuel line through Bernheim property?
Well, I could take a stab at that one. And the first thing I would say is that LG&E is interested in environmental issues to the extent that we are interested in environmental issues. So it's not like LG&E has just developed a green consciousness and is running around changing all these light bulbs. It's because people want that. People in Louisville want to see that happen. And Metro Council's been very good at that. I know Brandon Cohen on the Public Works Committee before Nicole. He was chairman before Nicole, and he was very interested in that. So it's something that, it's like anything else. You have to pressure them to do something. As far as the Bernheim pipeline is concerned, I want you all to know that that's still an open issue. It has not been resolved, and LG is still very much pushing that. And Bernheim, I'm in contact with people down there pretty regularly, and they're still very much resisting it. So that issue may come to a head sometime in the next few months. So stay tuned, because that's a big one. That's you got your global thinking and your local action right there, right here in Louisville. And if that becomes an issue, why, I think a lot of us will take part in it.
Thanks, Sam. And Melissa Dillinger put a fascinating link in wondering if something that's happening in Portland is something that could be possible here in Louisville. It turns out in 2017, Portland started generating electricity from turbines that were installed in the city water pipes. So the water flowing through the city pipes will generate electricity like a dam, but with no environmental consequences. And Melissa's wondering, is that an option here in Louisville? Do we know anything about that?
Sam, do you have anything to say about that, or do you know anything about that
I
technology?
don't know about that, no.
Okay. Anyone
It's
else?
the first I've heard of it. It's exciting.
I think I've heard about it, but I don't really know.
We will certainly look into that. We will certainly look into that.
Excellent.
So,
And I
Dawn,
believe that is all the, Melissa also asked if Jim Beam could use renewable energy. They could choose to use renewable energy
Yes, certainly could.
resources. Right.
Roger,
Oh, Roger.
You know, speaking of the distilleries, Jim Beam is not Brown Forman, but that's one of the things that in researching what some of the local companies, corporations are doing, Brown Forman actually has purchased 90% of their energy in the U.S., electricity generation energy in the U.S. at their plants and so forth in the U.S. at in a wind farm in Kansas. And you know, my thinking is, you know, that could have been solar in Kentucky, and would have been jobs in Kentucky. And so we lost that. And I think that's something that this current legislature, Kentucky legislators ought to know. So.
okay. Roger, thank you very much for that informative presentation. We really admire your meticulous attention to this issue, which has already borne fruit in numerous areas of the city. And I would like to say, as somebody who's relatively new to Louisville, that working with REAL, 100% Renewable Energy Alliance of Louisville, has really taught me already a lot of things about this city that I didn't know. And I expect to learn a lot more as time goes on. And one of the things I did not know to begin with was that Jefferson County and the metro area of Louisville includes these 80 little tiny fiefdoms, if you like, that are left over from the past. And one of the things that they're in charge of is streetlights. And so I will not look at streetlights again the same way as I did before, Roger. So thank you for your presentation. And I would like to ask Nicole George if she might just comment on the relationship between the metro government and the governments of these little fiefdoms in respect of streetlights. Could you just explain that to us so we can learn a little bit about the politics of that?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm happy to respond. I'm not sure that I'm the best person suited to answer that. In District 21, we're like 90% of District 21 is urban services. So the old city. And we only have one local municipality, which is Linview, which has already done a conversion that you heard referenced along with Parkway Village. So I'm really proud of their work. You know, I know Mary Rose is connected with Jefferson County League of Cities, and I attended a Jefferson County League of City meeting, I want to say like maybe in January, where we heard from LG&E come and speak about LED conversions. So I know it's something, you know, Jefferson County League of Cities is what binds us all together. I know it is something that is, you know, has broad interest for people, no matter what area of the city you live in. But I think, you know, when you speak about the politics, and, you know, I probably should be careful and only speak about what I know. It is really difficult with some of our local municipalities simply because they have their own tax base, they have their own interests. Oftentimes they're less connected with their council members simply because they're, you know, they're self-sufficient in a lot of ways. And so I think being able to advocate through Jefferson County League of Cities is one good mechanism. Again, Mary Rose might be in a better position to speak to that given her role with the organization.
Okay, thank you for that. Do you have a comment, Roger, on at that point?
I don't know if I should say this or not, but I know that, oh, Mary Rose, there she is on the on the call, so on the Zoom. So if she wants to say something, I don't know, can she unmute herself?
She can't, but I can invite her to. Hold on one second. All right.
I hope I don't hear about this later.
Okay, did I do it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Don. Thank you, Roger. Small cities are not fiefdoms. They are cities. They have been cities since way before Metro became Metro. They tried to pass a merger law twice and it didn't go through because the people in small cities voted against it. And so they did it again, leaving the small cities intact, and they do a very valuable role. Small cities are converting to LED streetlights faster than Metro. They have garbage and recycling way before Metro did. They are more environmental and more concerned about the day-to-day local things that Sam was talking about than Metro can be because it's so big. I'm not in any way against Metro. We work with our council person and many other council people. I think every small city works with their council person to get things done. We are not fiefdoms in any way. We just take care of our people with our tax base. I may sound defensive, but I feel like that we've been attacked. So that's why I sound that way. But I very much enjoy living in a small city. I think my quality of life is better because of it. I've been involved in Parkway Village since 1986, and we've been a city since 1940. Metro Louisville's only been around since 2001. So.
Oh, Mary Rose, I apologize. I'm the only person on the Zoom call today who would have used a word like fiefdom. So please, I used it lightly, so there was no hidden thing there. And I'm just ignorant of the arrangements in Louisville, as I said before. So we'll talk about this later. And
I'll be happy to talk to you about it, Graham. Yeah,
good.
yeah,
That's fine.
We're all still friends.
Okay, good.
There is one question in the chat. Can the Louisville Energy Manager help coordinate the local use of streetlights with the small cities? I believe is the question.
Oh, with the small cities?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what coordination there needs to be. I mean, as I said, I think small cities are converting faster than Louisville is. But we are happy. I mean, I'm sure we'd be happy to be a part of any reports or anything that would be helpful to the whole metro area to show the advances that we've made in energy savings in Metro Louisville. So,
well, I think you're raising a very good point. The value of the demonstration value that small municipalities can bring to the wider city. I think that's very valuable. Roger, did you have one more comment? We're going to have to.
I just wanted to say that the energy manager talked to our group, Real, the last time we met. I think that was last Monday. Anyway, Julie Donna, he wanted to know more about what I was doing with streetlights, and Julie Donna sent an email where he has not replied, but she copied his email address on there. So if he wants to contact me about that, I'll be glad to work, and I'll be glad to talk with anybody about this to know, it's a start. It's a big piece, a big chunk.
Okay, thank you. Dawn, we have another question there in the chat at the end. Maybe I can read it out. It's from Wallace. We heard a suggestion of airport energy using being negotiated with Metro government. Does Mary Rose have a comment on that? Mary Rose, do you have a comment on that question? Or Wallace, would you like to address
Okay,
that question?
I can, I'm sorry, I was muted but John has unmuted me again, so I can address it. We have, the airport has converted all of our lights to LEDs, our parking lot and our runways and our terminal and all of our roadways. So that's been a huge project at a tremendous expense, millions and millions of dollars. We are remodeling, doing a remodel in the terminal, and this includes a geothermal energy service that we're going to be using for the terminal, and lots of that infrastructure is in place, although it is not up and running yet. Other than that, I've been encouraging them to put in plug-in stations for electric cars, both for Ubers and Lyfts and taxis, and for parking lots and for employees. So hopefully as more electric cars get around, they'll be able to plug in at the airport. We have done energy audits at our airport, and we've also done pollution audits for air pollution to get a baseline so that we can calculate our savings. I'm sure there are lots of other things. I think on Earth Day, the airport is going to do a little video to tout some of the things that we've been doing for our energy efficiency. So that's what I know about what we're doing.
Thank you. All right. We said we would wrap up this meeting by 8:30, and we want to have some music to finish up from John Gage again. I just want to ask quickly, I just want to make a couple of comments. First of all, I think we have, all of us here have already tonight seen how this very quickly, how difficulties very quickly arise in an overarching goal like the one that the city has boldly adopted for itself. And the city certainly knew that what it was getting into in accepting this resolution for 2030 and 35 and 2040, because they are old hands at these kind of difficulties that we saw starting to come up tonight, these local issues. So, but I think this is very interesting and very helpful for us to start to learn about the things that immediately spring to mind. And I hope that you enjoyed the program tonight, and we're looking forward to coming back again on Saturday, June the 12th. We're going to have another issue of Real Good News about 3 months from now, and we'll bring up some more issues to talk about like this. So I hope you'll join us again. I'd like to thank Marilyn Stoner and Rhodey Streeter and Dawn, who worked so hard to bring this program on air and behind the scenes. Are there any final questions that anybody's burning to ask before I just hand it over and end the session here? Any other questions anybody would like to ask? All right.
Can I ask Nicole? I heard her talk something about Energize Kentucky, but I didn't hear all of that. And I want, maybe she could just send me an email, or I would like to know more about that.
Sure, I can post the newly amended EPAD ordinance in the comments. And Energize Kentucky is the third-party administrator of EPAD. EPAD is also known as Chase nationally. So our energy project, oh my goodness, what does it stand for? Energy Project Assessment District is what EPAD is.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you again, Nicole, for coming along tonight and being in our meeting. You have made a great contribution, and we really appreciate that.
My pleasure.
We heard a beautiful song from John Gage at the beginning of the program that was recorded, but we have very good luck tonight because we have John Gage in person with us on the Zoom, and he's going to finish off the meeting tonight with a live song. So I'm going to turn it over to him, And at the end of that, we'll all say goodbye to each other and look forward to coming together again on June the 12th. So over to you, John. We welcome you and we're looking forward to hearing your closing music.
Thank you, Graham. It's an honor to play for you. I consider this a rather august gathering of folks with who have blended a lot of knowledge and awareness with the will to act. And that's powerful to me. So hopefully we can provide something that will egg us on a bit. This is a melody you should remember, Peter, Paul, and Mary's song, written by an old folk singer named Travis Edmondson. He traveled around, he was known, but not that much. But I unabashedly stole the melody to write my own song. So I'm borrowing it without permission, but don't tell anybody. I don't think we'll be in too much trouble. This is a song I wrote called Speak Your Mind. Find your voice, speak your mind, bring renewable energy to humankind. Be the eyes for a world gone blind. Find your voice, speak your mind. Wake up in the morning, read the news. It's very clear to see the whole world confused. Cynical voices say you're too weak, too small. If you try to fly, you're bound to fall. A courageous heart, so hard to find, calls to you. Speak your mind. Stand up tall, stand and be strong. Lift your voice, sing your song. The pathway to hope lies within. Your heart holds the love for this wounded world to mend. In the stillness of a sunset, prayerful voices blend, and a new day is dawning, a new world begins. A courageous heart, so hard to find, calls to you. Speak your mind. Stand up tall, stand and be strong. Lift your voice, sing your song. Find your voice, speak your mind. Bring healing hope to humankind. Be the eyes for a world gone blind. Find your voice, speak your mind. Find your voice and speak your mind. Thank you. Great evening.
Thank you very much, John. That's it from us. Hope to see you all again with more real good news on June the 12th. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.